Falcon fans, Falcon fans, Falcon fans, and of course, good old Atlanta Falcon fans. You already know what it is, and you already know what it do. Jack Spade checking in, T. Will checking in. Big shout out to Kerry, big shout out to Bodie 3000. One time for the fan, from the fan for the fan. Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. And I think Terry, we're gonna add some more to the list. That's what we're gonna do in 2025. We done said that so much that I feel like we need to go ahead and add some more. So be on the lookout for more one time for the fan coming at you on different platforms. It's all about having fun. It's all about being a Falcon fan coming over here on the podcast, talking Falcons football in a positive way. Yes, this is our conference championship podcast, quick pop up show. We're not going to do the show later on tonight due to the NFC championship games. We want everybody to have a good Sunday evening. I believe one game is getting ready to start here, Terry, in a matter of minutes, right? Or
Yeah. Eagles and Washington's getting ready to start. They're getting ready to get it cracking.
Eagles and the Commanders getting ready to play some football. Of course, with the playoffs and the Falcons not being there, we do have some familiar faces that's in the playoffs right now, such as Dan Quinn. A lot of Falcon fans have already stated their case on social media, saying that they will not be rooting for Dan Quinn today. But though they want to see the young buck, Jalen Daniels, go out there and get a dub, right? A lot of people don't kind of like Philadelphia's fan base, and of course, with the Eagles, um, just pretty much revamping their team in the past couple of years. They've been on that path of success. They're one game away from the playoffs. So there's a lot of fans that's kind of on the fence about who they want to root for today. Of course, in the AFC, with the videos and the messages coming out from fans about everybody's on Josh Allen's side today. Like it's Josh Allen it's pretty much everybody versus the Kansas City Chiefs today. Nobody really likes the Chiefs. Of course, they're back-to-back champions and Pat Mahomes and the whole referee thing. When you play Kansas City in Kansas City, you got to play the refs, and it's kind of disappointing because the Falcons beat the Philadelphia Eagles earlier this season due to that fourth quarter comeback. Falcons also lost to the Kansas City Chiefs shortly after that. And then 2 months after that, the Falcons lost to the Washington Commanders.
The
So the
Falcons
Falcons have some
shouldn't have
familiarity.
lost to the Chiefs.
Shouldn't have lost to the Commanders. That could have
They
been our
shouldn't. No,
playoff
they
clincher game.
really shouldn't have lost to the Chiefs, because if that call is made in the end zone, it's first down and goal with like two whatever minutes to go. So we should have beaten the Chiefs.
And you're
Let's start
mentioning the
there.
referees, I'm guessing, right, Terry? Because the referees did have a part in that. The Kyle Pitts end zone touchdown that should have been called pass interference would have set us up on the goal, first and goal, in a situation where I think we were going touchdown for touchdown with the Chiefs. They didn't come in here and blow us out,
No, they
right? And
did
that was
not.
week 3, Sunday Night Football. We had the opportunity to beat the Chiefs. Couple plays, of course, people would say Kirk Cousins did this, and the offensive scheme wasn't working well in week 3, and they was trying to get familiar with the players and all. You was literally a play away from beating the Chiefs due to the referee not calling the pass interference, which people can clearly see it was a pass interference on Kyle Pitts.
Clearly.
Clearly see, even all the social media pundits and people on the CBS and everybody's replaying the video, reposting the video on social media, saying, "How is this not a call on Kyle Pitts?" So Falcons lose that game to the Chiefs earlier this season. Then the Falcons go up against the Washington Commanders, where I think Michael Penix, put into a tough situation at that point in the season, going into a playoff atmosphere game in his second game of his NFL career was kind of difficult. But Penix came out there ready to play, came out there ready to help his team get to the next level. And of course, people can say clock management, game management. There was some things there that led the Falcons to not beating the Commanders. And then, of course, we beat the Philadelphia Eagles. So 3 teams the Falcons are familiar with today that is playing on this NFL Conference Championship Sunday. But Terry, before we get to some quick Falcons talk, I want some fans to go enjoy the game, watch the game. We did miss the past show. Was it the Wednesday? We missed the Wednesday show. We missed the Friday show. So, of course, we had to do a quick pop-up because there's no show tonight. Terry, how is everything going on with you for my ATL Sports? Are you keeping yourself busy? Are you getting some time to sleep? Otherwise than that, going on in T Will's world, please talk to the fans.
Hey man, it's been going well. I didn't do a show yesterday, and I was happy about it because sometimes you just need to replenish, right? You need to restore. So I was definitely happy to just have a day to myself. Family and I got out, went bowling. I had a good time, but no, everything's going well with A1. Excuse me, hey A1. I'm looking at Chris in the chat. How you doing, Chris? Georgia, Texas boy, how you doing? Ronnie Thomas, how you doing? Do we see Deshaun? Deshaun, how you doing? Deke, what up? How you doing? And Jamel, how you doing? All right, we're all caught up. No, man, doing great. Hey, we're just taking it day by day, trying to get in shows, trying to do what we need to do to support our Atlanta Falcons, Hawks, and Braves. And other than that, hey man, business as usual. Jamel says he would trade down.
So here's the cool thing, Falcon fans. This is just going to be a quick podcast today, right? Eagles Commanders getting ready to get underway. We want fans to enjoy their Sunday. Did it kick off already?
Yeah, they're underway.
Did Eckler or Saquon run for 89 yards?
No, they did not. It's 2nd and 9. Commanders have the ball.
Commanders, okay, let me know. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and put it on quickly here as we talk Falcons football. Jamel Hill's in the chat. Big shout out to Jamel with the one-time emojis, throwing around the red and black emojis too as well. He's a diehard Atlanta Falcon fan. Deke, Dwayne reference in the chat. Pop up with my Atlanta Falcon fans. Let's get it. Love the new D-line coach hire. Yes, big shout out to the Atlanta Falcons for making those hires this week too as well. Jeff Ulbrich starting to get his coaching staff together. And he also has our good friend Jerry Gray, who's still back there in that secondary. So maybe we can get a little bit of help here for Jeff Ulbrich. No round of applause just yet. No, the season hasn't started, but the Falcons are making some moves, and I think the fans are really excited about it. The was it Kevin Ollie? The Kevin Ollie pickup from the Houston Texans. That was a major pickup due to the fact that we saw what the Houston Texans was able to do with D'Amico Ryans, their head coach from that they signed last year, got them to the playoffs, and of course this year got them back to the playoffs. And Nate Ollie has been a big part of that defensive line and what the Houston has been able to produce on defense. So big shout out to Jeff Ulbrich and Raheem and the crew for bringing Nate Ollie over. And of course we got linebackers coach from the New York Jets, who's familiar with a lot of these coaches on the staff too as well. Mike Rettenberg from the New York Jets, who my Jets friend said, hey, you guys got a good guy over there. He was able to train up Williams. He was able to train up Sherwood. And fans are thinking, hey, what player from the Jets could the Falcons bring in this year? A lot of times, coaches like to bring their luggage with them. And you've seen with Ryan Nielsen when he came over, he brought a player. Of course, you've seen Deion Sanders when he went from Jackson State to Colorado. He brought Louis bags with him, meaning players. And there's a couple players on the Jets team this year that's going to be free agents. Maybe some that's hopefully familiar with Jeff Ulbrich, so that way we can get some guys in the building. Our cap space is also something to look forward to. I think we're around the $3, $4, $5, $6 million mark. So we're not in the big money like the Commanders and the Patriots and some of these other teams. We're going to have to make some moves to get back, some bread, which means a couple one-year deals are going to be flying across the table this year for a lot of these players. Jamal Hill, Dwayne Ruffin, Georgia, Texas boy is in the chat. Big shout out to Georgia, Texas boy. Ron Thomas is in the chat talking Falcons football. What up, everyone? Georgia, Texas boy said he has a question before we get started here. I'm doing mock drafts right now. So at 15, I have Jalen Walker right there. Or do I make the trade down to 20 and gain a second? Here's the cool thing, Georgia, Texas boy. We're going to get ready to start doing our mocks too as well. So please, Georgia, Texas boy, come back on the podcast so we can work these mocks together. But it's where you want to be at the time of drafting right now. I mean, free agency hasn't started, right? Everybody's mental is like, how can we get better with this team? And these mocks are coming out, and you're seeing some of these content creators and fans putting out mocks. And I must say, some really good mocks, because some of the talent, Terry, that I've seen from these mocks has me excited about who's going to be the next defensive star here in Atlanta. I think we're going defense. The past couple weeks, we've talked about defense. Nobody has mentioned Zach Robinson or Penix or Bijan. Ain't nobody talking about the offense. I'm talking about the defense. Georgia Texas boy says at 15 he has Jalen Walker, Georgia boy. Or do you make the trade down to 20 and gain a second? Jalen Walker, I mean, not Jalen Walker, Georgia Texas boy, right now, the way I'm feeling on January 26th, who's on the board after Jalen Walker, right? Because people's going to throw around these big names. And Terry, remember we said we're not going to do it this year. We're not going to get all eggs in the basket on one guy because you saw how they did us last year. It was this guy. It was this guy. And then it was Michael Penix, right? You kept hearing Terry say BP of best player available. Well, at 15, there's a couple players that come to mind. One player, and I'm glad you mentioned this, Georgia Texas boy. You must have been in the one time for the fan chat because you must be reading our notes right now. One player that Mel Kiper Jr. mentioned is this guy right here, Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. Put him on your draft board this year too as well, Falcons. If we talk draft all night, we're going to be here all night. Jalen Walker is a name that should be on your draft board. Shamar Stewart is a name that should be on your draft board. Terry, as of yesterday, Daniel Jeremiah mentioned the young man from Michigan. Will Johnson? The young man from Michigan. The Falcons should be looking at 15. So who's on your draft board right now, Jalen, after 15? I have no problem trading back at 15 to 20 to gain another pick. I think we're going to be sitting at 5 this year. People forget about the Taylor Heineke situation. That a trade pick was involved in that too as well. So sitting at 5 picks, if you try to gain another second, I would probably trade back. We need guys on the field this year. Jeff Ulbrich, he has to fill up a couple positions on that defensive line and, of course, in that linebacker room. I can see why fans would mention Shamar Stewart, outside linebacker, defensive end. I see why people would mention Jalen Walker. Linebacker is getting a lot of attention right now in the Falcons community when it comes to drafting. But is Terry going to go BPA at 15 or at 20? Me, right now, January 26th, I'm with you, Georgia Texas boy. I'm trading back to 20, and I'm collecting me another pick. Terry, Georgia Texas boy's comment. Right now, January 26th, we haven't brought any free agents in. We haven't done any type of moves on the roster. What are you feeling like with Georgia Texas boys' question right here, Terry?
I agree with him. I trade back as well.
Trade back.
You need too many picks. You only have 5. You have 5 picks and limited resources. I know you're going to restructure your do some restructuring as far as your payroll is concerned, but you're going to need at least 7 to 8 picks this year, even with your restructuring. So I definitely would trade down. In complete agreement with him.
Big shout out to T. Will, former ATL Sports, one time for the fan. Everybody's in the chat. A1 Forever. What it do, my guys? Big shout out to A1 Forever. Jamal Hill is telling them I trade down. Look at these Falcon fans in here talking Falcons football. Georgia Texas boy said no, Washington had converted 2 4th downs. Big shout out to Jamal Hill.
Philly just scored a touchdown, by the way.
Philly just scored a touchdown?
Yep. Saquon Barkley.
I
think he ran for like 50, 60, 50. The Giants are so dumb.
I could have did. I should have did Saquon anytime touchdown.
I was so dumb to let him go. Like, that makes no sense.
The funny thing about it is not even just being dumb of letting him go. To know that your 13-year-old son for the general manager was telling you don't let him go, right? At that time, he was saying Saquon is a guy you need to probably build around. But I'm looking at the GM for the Giants thinking the cap that they were in and, of course, the players that they had on the roster, some people don't want to wait no more, right? They got rid of Saquon to say we can't build around Saquon. We can't go through another draft and try to find a quarterback. They wanted him out the building. And, of course, Saquon was frustrated too. You can pay the guy $100 million, $200 million. Does he want to stay in New York? At that time, battling injury, Giants not being a good team, he was the best player on the team. Giants could have gave him $500 million. I don't even know if Saquon would have stayed. Look at Saquon in Philly now. He's sliding on the ground in the snow. He's over there hanging out with Jalen Hurts and guys that are getting him to this moment right now. He's 3 quarters away from playing in a Super Bowl, his first Super Bowl. And he's been, 3-4 years with the Giants and never even smelt the NFC Championship game. Some players just want to be on the move. That's why some fans are like, should you bring Judon back? Should you bring Justin Simmons back? Do they want to come back? That's the number one question. And of course, with their agents and how they make these moves around the NFL, is Judon talking to the Ravens right now? Is he talking to the Jets right now? Is he talking to the new Pete Carroll Raiders right now? Some fans, we want these players to come back, but are they going to come back? Right? I remember at the end of the season, I told Justin Simmons, I said, Simmons, yo, let's run it back, bro. Like, look at what we got right now. One game away, a couple plays away from each in the playoff. Let's run it back, man. Let's get some familiar faces back in the building. And of course, his comment responded was like, cool, as a player would. He's not going to sit there and say, nah, bro. But some fans want some of these players back. And it's really what happens in the offseason. Look at Khalil Mack, a player that Falcon fans are talking about go getting. He mentioned right as the end of the season for the Chargers, he has to think about if he wants to play next season. He's got to look at his family, look at the situation that he's in. And then, of course, a week later, he announces, I'm back for another year. Now Falcon fans are on it like, go get this guy, go get this guy. But are we a Khalil Mack away, Terry, from reaching the playoffs? That's a question I think Falcon fans got to look at. Are we one player away from reaching the playoffs? I would say we're a few players away and a few coaching decisions away from making the playoffs. But Falcon fans in the chat talking Falcons football, like either Mike Green, of course, that young man from Marshall is an incredible player. James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, a guy that I've mentioned a couple times here on the podcast. So we're going to get into our mocks. We're going to talk some Falcons football here just for a couple minutes. DSGB Hall said pass rusher, then corner. I do think the Falcons, I'm telling you right now, just the way I'm looking at the team, I don't know if the Falcons are going to go young at corner beside AJ with Clark Phillips and D. Alford from what they had last season. I think they want a more polished guy. I would see the Falcons just off of Jack Spade's knowledge of the game. I would see the Falcons targeting a corner in free agency, a guy who's already played the game, has been in the system. He knows he can line up alongside AJ and help him out. A guy that they probably are familiar with. Somebody who knows, of course, look at who we're playing this year. We're playing Buffalo. We're playing Miami. We're playing the Rams, Seahawks, teams that are going to air it out on us too as well. You got to get some cornerbacks that can stretch that field. And of course, I do think they go free agency for that move. But then again, you got 5 or 6 picks. You kind of fill this roster, and you can't knock the fact that the Falcons go get corner. That's what they wanted. My first pick would not be corner though. Not my first pick. I can't do that. Tyreek Johnson's in the chat. What's up, fellas? We need to trade down to too many holes to fill. Man, when we do these mock drafts, boy, people are gonna be in here having a great time. I think we should do the mock drafts this week, Terry. I think we should start it up, T. Fans are super excited about these college players. The Shrine Bowl. Big shout out to Coach Maurice Williams down there coaching at the Shrine Bowl. You're seeing a lot of pictures and videos come out from the Shrine Bowl. Also follow Trey Sean. We haven't had Trey Sean here on the channel, but I've spoke to Trey Sean on other podcasts before. Big shout out to him. He's a journalist for the Falcoholic, and he is at the Shrine Bowl right now too as well, getting some videos and some content. So make sure you guys go follow Trey Sean on X or Twitter, whatever they call it. But quickly, as we want to talk some Falcons football here before we get it up, before we get up out of here, Terry, Mel Kiper Jr. mentioning Shamar Stewart. I just had his information here on the screen. Don't know why I brought it down. Mel Kiper Jr. Of course, he puts out these mocks. I think I think this guy will be a perfect fit for this team because I'm Mel Kiper Jr. And remember that back in the day, Terry? Remember the Colts GM? Who the hell is Mel Kiper Jr. anyway? Right? So for Falcon fans, that's really big into, this journalist said it. And this guy has been an analyst and a scout of the game for so many years. Mel Kiper Jr. has mentioned the Atlanta Falcons should draft Shamar Stewart with their 15th pick. Shamar Stewart last year, of course, 14 solo tackles, 1.5 sacks. The past 3 years, he's had about 4 or 5 sacks for his season. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, he's not really too much of a flashy guy, but the physicality of this guy, he's a 6'6", 290 edge, Terry, from Texas A&M. I'm sure on film, he's probably filling a lot of gaps and helping out with that run defense and that support. Pass rush-wise, I don't think Falcon fans are too, excited about getting a guy. Yeah, he's 6'6". He has the build of Judon. That is true. And if Judon's leaving, you have a guy that can fill that spot. He's a young guy. He's a rookie. but his numbers in college is not really what Falcon fans are looking for when it comes to your 15th pick. Can he be coached up? Every player can be coached up. Can he make some production? Can he put some production with the Atlanta Falcons next year? It's possible if he's here. Jeff Ulbrich, new D-line coach. You never know. But his numbers early for Falcon fans are just not exciting as a Jack Sawyer from Ohio State, right? Or as the young man from Marshall, too, as well. But then again, Terry, we talked about this on the other podcast. You have a guy like Shamar Stewart, played at Texas A&M, big school, right? Didn't put up the big numbers that Falcon fans wanted, but he is on Mel Kiper Jr. draft board for the Falcons selecting him. Then you got the young man from Michigan, big Power 5 school. Of course, you saw what they did in the past couple of years, but Falcon fans don't want to go corner, right? But then you got the young man from Marshall, who people are saying he's probably the best defensive lineman in this draft in that first round. But the problem is, Terry, nobody wants to go after a kid from Marshall in this Falcons fan base at 15, right? You see DSGB Hall said, not Stewart, Vic Beasley vibes. Fans are going to tell you this. Georgia, Texas boy, I'd rather take Kyle Kennard or Jack Sawyer in the second. If Jack Sawyer makes it to that second, the way this NFL is, I'm just telling you, Terry, we got to go back to last year when it comes to this draft, Terry. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, Falcon fans. We did that here on the channel. We literally said, this is our guys, this is our draft board, but it's him. It has to be him. I can see Jack Sawyer in a Falcons uniform. If he gets to 13, 14, 15, and Jack Sawyer's name is right there, outstanding, phenomenal player. Why would you not want a Jack Sawyer on your team?
Look at Jack Sawyer. I think what's interesting, Jack, is
and his name is Jack. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and his name is Jack. There you go. But let's take a step back. You said that we were one or two players or multiple players away from the playoffs. I disagree with that completely. We could have gotten to the playoffs with this team. Yeah. There was, that's just bottom line. So as constructed, we can get to the playoffs. That's number one. Yeah. Number two, as far as the draft is concerned, yeah, it's important that they have talent, but you got to be able to coach them up, right? You got to be able to coach them up. You got to be able to develop. And the Falcons have not in the past, don't know about this new iteration, but in the past, we've not really done a great job of developing and or coaching up defensive linemen. So it starts there, right? We hired Ollie as our defensive line coach. I'd be interested to look at who's he coached before, or assistant defensive line coach in Texas, right? Like, who'd he coach in Texas? So I know he coached DeMille Hunter and Will from Alabama. Will Anderson,
Danielle Hunter. He had those two defensive tackles that were pretty decent too as well.
So maybe we look for defensive tackles with those traits. I don't know if it's size, I don't know weight, I don't know what it is. Maybe you look at that as maybe a harbinger of things to come with who the Falcons may draft, at their defensive line. Don't know. I would imagine he would have some input with it. I would imagine obviously Raheem would have an input with it, but Raheem he's been a defensive coordinator. His roots are in the secondary though. So I'd be interested to kind of see everybody that Ollie's coached in the past, and maybe that would give you some sort of hint as to, what he would be inclined to agree with or select, right? I'm okay with trading back. I'm okay with really any defensive player, as long as he's got the talent and the tools and can listen, because at the end of the day, it's not just, you can draft the greatest player in the world. If you're not going to coach and develop him though, what does it matter? Right.
I remember how Vic was coming out of Clemson. People was like, oh my God, this guy is going to be amazing.
Well, look, you take a chance on anybody you draft and you just don't know. Right. But I'd like to look at the scouting. I don't know. This is a new iteration of Falcons, right? So I don't know that we have.
Can we agree, Terry, that with Jeff Ulbrich, with the three moves they made on their defensive coaching side, can you agree now at January 26th that 15th pick or your trade down pick to 20 or 22, can we agree that it is defense?
It has to be.
It has to be, Terry. If you go offense right now, if you go anything outside of what we're talking, corner, linebacker, defensive line, Terry, these fans are going to erupt.
It has to be. I don't see now. I know there's a debate as to whether or not you'll re-sign our center. What's his name? Dalton? What's his name? What's our center's name?
Eh, what's his name? Drew
Dalman.
Dalman. So
Dalman. Drew
that's big for
Dalman.
you to mention that too, as well as we get ready to talk about that shortly. But yeah, Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna draft your starting center in the first round. So outside of that, you have every other position covered. I don't know that you're gonna draft. I don't even know that you're gonna replace McGarry because he's a mauler on the running side, and he's
Yeah.
been decent. He's been okay in the passing game. You know, he had
I'm hearing a
had
lot
a
about
pretty
the
decent
blind
year.
side block and the Penix, and I saw McGarry block for Penix those 3 games.
Yeah.
And I think
So
Raheem saw it. I think the O-line coach saw it. I think everybody saw it. It's not about a get McGarry out of here type of move. McGarry just
right.
has to focus on being a better offensive lineman for his quarterback. And McGarry, I'm
Yeah.
sure he's not sitting on the couch right now saying, yeah, I don't know if I can block for Penix next year. They go ahead and let me go. You
No.
think McGarry's over there doing that right now? You
No,
think
I
Orr's
don't.
doing
I
that right
don't.
now at this moment?
I don't. I
McGarry's
don't.
probably doing the same thing I saw that Commanders offensive lineman do. And I don't know who the lineman was last week. It was during the middle of a play where the referee had called a penalty on Detroit. But the offensive lineman, everybody's talking to the refs and talking to the coaches. Terry, you know what he's doing? He's doing his steps behind the offensive line to make sure that he's prepared for Jaden Daniels to, get the ball back and, of course, drive down the field and win. But Terry, he's over there doing his steps, working on his technique as the team is going into the huddle. This is what these offensive linemen do, right? You can't just look at the name and say, oh, he's had one bad season or 2 bad seasons. When Penix was in there for those 3 games, I saw McGarry blocking, bro. That's what I saw. So
Yeah, no,
Terry's right.
definitely. And I don't. I say that to say I don't think you're going to replace McGarry.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to replace McGarry and you're not going to replace Dahlman, why would you draft anyone on offense?
Yeah.
You have a litany of weapons,
Yeah.
a plethora, an assortment of weapons on the offensive side. There's no excuse to draft an offensive player in the first round. So for me, it's a defensive player, and for me, it's either edge rusher or linebacker, because you got needs of both. Now, to me, your primary needs edge rusher, but you can draft a linebacker that can cover and also rush. But either way, that's what I'm looking for in that first pick. You can go corner. I mean, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be upset for any position that you select on defense.
That's true. That's true. But if you go now, the one I would say that I'm kind of looking at would be safety. You take safety at 15 or 20, I'm like, what? Okay, we went defense. Ain't got no problem with it.
Got a question for you. Got a question for you.
Yeah.
Got a question for you. And I did not realize this. The best, who would you say had the best opposing passer rating as a defensive back in our defensive backfield?
I mean, we're gonna go Terrell Allen, of course. AJ Terrell.
No.
Hold on, Terry. Don't tell me you're trying to get. This is one of them trick questions, is it?
It's not a trick question, but it's not a trick question. It's not a trick question. It's not a trick question.
Mike Hughes?
No.
If I'm going to throw a third out there, I'm going to go Team Glow. Team Glow.
No.
All right, Terry, who you got?
Justin Simmons.
Justin Simmons?
Yes. At least from what I read, he had an 81% successful passer rating. Jesse Bates had an 89% opposing against. I was reading this article this morning. So that blew my mind. And then I don't know what AJ's was, but I don't think it was better than 81%. Mm-hmm. So as bad as folks think that Justin Simmons was, maybe he wasn't. Right? I don't know. His was 81%. Jason's was 89%. Let me take a look at it.
I think if teams, especially with fans, I'm just go ahead and say it, fans and teams, if you look at next season and you have Justin Simmons back in the building with Jesse Bates, a new defensive line coach, a new linebackers coach, Jerry Gray, Jeff Ulbrich, I think fans can say, hey, I feel good about my secondary. As you see William Amy right here saying, we need to go all in on defense this year. We can't wait for Hitman Helms. Um,
So AJ's was 104.4.
okay.
You said Mike Hughes.
Mike Hughes, D.
Take
Alford.
a look at Mike Hughes.
But for Falcon fans, if you were to go safety with this 15th pick, I think fans would kind of be not somewhat confused, but just kind of leaning toward more of we had other positions we had to fill outside of safety. You could have got safety into free agency. You could have made a trade and got a safety. You could have went third, fourth round to get safety. I don't think there's a safety right now in the top 20 that should even be spoke of in the Atlanta Falcons organization, especially if you're trying to go bring back Justin Simmons. And hopefully that move is made before the draft. That's why I like when the draft is set up like in the middle of that free agency period, because you can see when teams are making their moves and who they're going to go after. If the Falcons go sign a center, that means they lost Dalman. If the Falcons go sign a third running back, that means they're probably not going to run Jace that much no more, or Avery Williams. They go sign another wide receiver, that means we probably lost Cordell Hodge. I mean, we have to look and see what the Falcons are going to do this offseason and try to build around that going into the draft. If they attack every position outside of defensive line going into that draft, I can see them going line. Let's just say they bring in 3 linebackers in the free agency and 2 corners. What are going defensive line? How to reward Mike Rettenberg and Nate Ollie and Jeff Ulbrich? You bring in a defensive player, especially with Nate Ollie. That is probably the most exciting pick other than Jeff Ulbrich. To bring in a new defensive line coach that has coached up some guys that are making an impact in this NFL, right? And no disrespect to Jay Rogers. He's been here for a couple years, but we just didn't see the production from our defensive line coach. And people are looking at the tight ends coach too as well. Like, well, maybe we should get rid of Peel and go try to get a tight ends coach who can help Kyle Pitts be a little bit more aggressive and efficient this year. So maybe, the coaching is going to be changing up a little bit more. I know one thing we haven't talked about is Zach Robinson. It looks like Robinson is here to stay for another season. Most offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators have already been let go from their teams. You already see that the Saints is like the only team right now looking for a head coach. Other teams are filling in their OCs and their DCs and their HCs. Falcons quickly made that move from, I can't remember the guy. I can't remember the damn defensive coordinator's name from last year.
Jimmy Lake.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
that guy. We made the move from Jimmy over to Jeff. But this is where we're at right now, Falcon fans. So big shout out to Mike Rettenberg. Big shout out to Nate Ali. Big shout out to all the Atlanta Falcon fans here in the chat talking Falcons football with us. Like I said, it's just a quick podcast here. Terry, what's the score of the game?
14-3 Eagles. Although the Commanders went for it on fourth down and got it. They had the punter throw a pass, so that was interesting.
Okay,
but they got
it. Dan Quinn working up the Dan Campbell type technique, but it's all right. Falcon fans, one thing I do want to address quickly before we get up out of here. Terry just mentioned it. You have some moves to look at before you even get to the draft, and one of those moves are bringing back your center, Drew Dalman, which there are some reports, not from any type of big name journalists, but mostly from fans. And of course, podcasters that, cover their respected teams, that Drew Dalman would be a great fit for the Chicago Bears, right? And there's a lot of talk from Bears fans about bringing in a guy like Drew Dalman. On the PFF NFL free agent rankings, Drew Dalman right now sits at 22, right? So out of all the free agents this year, they're saying that Drew Dalman is pretty much, technically, if you're looking at the list too, if you go back, he's like the number 1 center that's going to be a free agent. And I see a lot of Falcon fans inside the Falcons community talk about we should draft the center or look elsewhere outside of Drew Dalman. Right now, with PFF's ranking and what they're saying, Drew Dalman he's the top center going to be a free agent, right? I mean, he's or if not top 3. Right. And you can see right here what they wrote on PFF. There aren't many long-term answers in free agency at center, which will make Dahlman the primary beneficiary if he reaches the open market. Any team that deploys an outside zone rushing scheme, such as the Falcons, will be all over the former fourth-round pick. Fourth-round pick turned starter. Now he's probably the top 3 center in the game right now. Dahlman has room to grow as a pass protector, but is one of the best run-blocking centers in the NFL and will advance the continued growth of the interior offensive line market after the Kansas City Chiefs center, Creed Humphrey, finally reset the center market. So,
I think you got to resign him, Jack.
You have to resign.
I think you have no choice but to resign. First off, his PFF grade was 78.8, which is good. It's very good. Number two, when you talk about offensive lines, you have to talk about continuity. These guys have been blocking together for at least 3 or 4 years. You throw a different guy in there, especially at the center position, okay? We are not talking about a tackle. We are talking about a center, which is essentially the quarterback of the offensive lineman, right? The quarterback is the quarterback of the offense, but the leader of the offensive lineman is the center. He's going to make sight adjustments or line adjustments. Sometimes the center will call that out. That's a very important position. Drew Dahlman has grown to a certain extent. I think you have to resign him. Not that you need to, you have to. You have no choice but to resign him.
With him and Hennessy. Falcon fans, we remember that. Is it Dahlman? Is it Hennessy? Well, Dahlman is a true center and Hennessy's a guard center. It's like Dahlman came in here. He made a name for himself. I'm proud of him. Now, that's the production we're looking for with some of our defensive line players. I mean, Grady's been here a while. We want to see more of Zach Harrison. We want to see more of if Tyquan Graham's going to be around. Tyquan Graham, that's a name who Falcon fans have totally forgotten about.
Yeah.
Probably will be out the building this year too as well.
Probably
just throwing it out there because that's what fans are looking at. You're trying to rebuild this 53. Mr. CDX said, do y'all like Malone at linebacker? Debo, that's the homie. I think Debo has shown the past couple games, and don't just knock Debo for that 3rd and 22 in that Commanders game. And I've spoke to Debo since that moment. He knows that moment hurts him too as well.
Yeah.
It was 3rd and 22. Right?
It was such a ticky-tack. I mean, it was just
it is. It's because if you look at the play, it's like the first couple yards off the ball, he like taps the guy and he runs down the field and the referee just throws the flag.
Yeah.
But Debo was just doing his job, man. But that's what lets you guys know as fans, when you put that helmet on, you put them pads on, they're in their own world. Right? You would think, these guys are coached up enough to not know that. All he did was brush the guy about 3 or 4 yards off the ball, and then the referee threw the flag like it was 10 yards down the field, 20 yards down the field.
Yeah, and the ref threw the flag like he just shoved him. Like, I mean, it was a love tap.
And here's the funny thing about
it was a love tap, just like
I saw this the other night with Indiana, with the Pacers. The young man Mathurin, the point guard, before the game started, he's talking to the refs. Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, my name is Matthew. Hey, nice to meet you. Yeah. Hey, what's up, man? How's your kids? How your family? They're doing good? All right, cool. Second quarter, you know what happens? You're out of here.
Wow.
You're out of here.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there watching like, bro, he was just so cool with the refs a couple minutes ago.
I guess he wasn't cool enough.
They teched him up and sent him on his way. So, there's a lot of things that go on also on the field, off the field. Do I like Malone at linebacker? Yes, I like Malone at linebacker. Maybe we'll see more of that this year. You have a new linebackers coach that's probably going to sit there and say, hey, who's 51? Hey, can we get 51 around here? Hey, D'Angelo, you did really well the past 4 games of last season. We're going to see you more snaps this year, man. We're going to push you more in rotation. 4-3 rotation, I'm hoping.
Me too.
Get Debo out there, man. Debo, he's still young. He needs to be coached up. A lot of these players got to be coached up, man. AJ Terrell, even you might see these guys, even Grady Jarrett, they got to be coached up. A lot of these players just don't go there. Aaron Donald, at the point in his career, was still listening to his coaches. He wasn't out there like, well, I'm Aaron Donald. I ain't got time for this shit. He still had to listen to his coaches. That's what it's all about. Mike Ruttenberg, Nate Ollie, 2 pieces I think can help this linebacker room. Mike is going into that room next year with Captain America face ass. JD Bertram. He has to coach up JD. He's
What's
going in
your
there with
thoughts? What's your thoughts on JD this year?
a young linebacker who the Falcons drafted, who has a high IQ. He played a lot of snaps last season, battled some injury too as well. But Terry, he got to be coached up. Is he the best linebacker in the NFL? No. Is he the best linebacker in the NFC South? No. Is he the best linebacker in that room? No. He has to be coached up. That's all it is. I think the kid has talent. Everybody in the Falcons draft has talent. Look at the guys we drafted. Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. Even he has his explosive moments. Drake London, Drew Dahlman. Like some of these guys, Tyler Algier. Like we brought in some guys that have a lot of talent. They just need to be coached up. Now, if you would have saw JD Bertram last year leading the league in tackles as a rookie and 4 or 5 sacks and 10 tackles for loss, hey now, we got us a stud. But you saw a guy who was just put into a position. He had to help out when he was needed. Hey, man, this guy's down. Time for you to go step in. Hey, this guy's battling injury in the second quarter. Time for you to get in there. It wasn't like a big splashy move. So fans that are expecting JD Bertram to be the best linebacker in the NFL, just let the kid stay his course. I'm sorry, let the young man stay his course. Let Mike Ruttenberg and these coaches coach him up and make him a better JD Bertram. Do I like the pick? Sure. I'm all for defense. I think our offense is decent. I like our offense. I want to see the defense get better, right? So my boy, Georgia, Texas boy, rebuild the linebacker core. People's going to think about Troy Anderson. Is Troy Anderson the guy to keep here forever?
No.
He's battling heavy injuries. Zoe Carter.
No.
Zoe Carter's production going forward. People are looking at that, right? There's a couple of names we're going to throw out here, but we don't want to spend all day because I think the game's in the fourth quarter now, Terry. The Eagles have to get past the fourth quarter. Carrie's in the chat. Big shout out to Carrie. Diehard Atlanta Falcon fan. One time for the fan podcast.
Drop. Okay. Yeah. There's a hey, Miss Carrie, how you doing? Carrie, hey, there's a saying that says you can't make the club from the tub, man. And Anderson just he's too injury prone, man. You know.
But I will say, look at his RAS score. Look at his combine score. Like
that's great, but if you can't stay healthy,
guy that's like, whoa,
that's great. But if you can't stay healthy, what good is it?
And that's not a one time for the fan thing.
What good is it?
This is a coaching staff thing. They're going to go look over. They're going to evaluate their players. They're going to evaluate who can they bring in to help this team get better. Mike Ruttenberg is going to sit over there and say, "Now we can get more with this guy with this versus this guy." That's a Mike Ruttenberg move. It's not Jack Spade. Nate Ollie's going to sit over there and say, "We got to plug this guy next to Grady." I know it. Guarantee it. Saw it do it in Houston. Jeff Ulbrich has to go over there and say, "Let's do it, Mike. Nate, let's do it. Hey, Raheem, these are the moves we're getting ready to make." That's not a Jack Spade thing. We're just here to talk about it. Carrie's in the chat. Mr. CDX is in the chat. Georgia, Texas boy is in the chat. Carrie said, watching the Eagles defensive line put so much pressure on Jaden Daniels right now. Man, that's how I want our D line to be. Carrie, I'm glad you're here. We're talking about the defensive line.
We are glad you're here, Carrie.
And we talked about some draft picks that could possibly help this team. But then again, you know, Nate Ollie, Mike Ruttenberg, Jeff Ulbrich, Raheem Morris, they got to handle that. I don't know if Jerry Gray is going to be the guy in the room to say, nah, y'all got the wrong piece. You need to go get this guy. He's secondary's coach. So, Falcon fans, you know, let's see what this coaching staff does.
Jack, I have a question for you.
What's up, bro?
The defensive coordinator, in regards to, the defensive passing game coordinator, I would imagine that he works on, I guess, passing game coverages for upcoming games. Mm-hmm. You know, what blitz packages you want to be in, where do you want the linebackers, man or zone? Is that your thought process on that? Or
yeah, and I also wouldn't shy away from him adding his 50 cents to the mix of other things that happen in that room too as well. I'm sure he wouldn't be in the wide receivers room. But then again, coaches move around. Remember Raheem? Raheem was one of those coaches that was in different rooms to study and find out what's going on. So I would probably guess that, yes, your defensive assistant coach would be in that role. Also, maybe going into the wide receivers room too as well during the scout process of practice to find out what they're doing to try to adjust. But yeah, I agree with you, Terry. Yep.
I'm just curious as to, you know, so I guess what I'm looking at is when it comes to putting together a game plan, it's not just the defensive coordinator, it's the defensive coordinator, it's the
Yeah.
linebackers coach, it's the
Assistant coaches.
defensive
Yep.
line
Yep.
coach, it's the secondaries coach, it's the defensive assistant passing coordinator. And I guess they all come together and collaborate on a defensive game plan and go from there.
Same like with Shanahan with, with LaFleur and them helping draw up some of the plays, right? Having those assistants in your room with you. That was back during the Shanahan era. People was really big on getting those coaches too as well, because they was able to help Shanahan. It's kind of like, I forget who was that. Somebody just got hired in the NFL from being the assistant. Damn, who was it? Somebody just got hired in the NFL for being like the assistant passing game coordinator. I think the Rams guy was looked at. Was it the Rams? I'm gonna go find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Terry, I definitely agree with you.
Okay. All right. Just curious because I wanted to know what his role would be and specifically what his duties would be. And so, just curious about that, but we can move on, Jack.
Hey, Falcon fans, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button. One time for the fan, from the fan, for the fan. Didn't want to take up too much of everybody's time today. Big shout out to Country. See Country calling me. He's on the golf course out there.
Country.
He's on that brand new fancy golf course out there in Marietta, spending that big money. Big shout out to Big Low Country Sports. CDX for Life is in the chat. Keith Simmons is in the chat. Carrie. A lot of Falcon fans here talking Falcons football. Middle of the afternoon. I know fans are probably expecting the Sunday night show. No Sunday night show tonight, y'all. We want people to go enjoy the second quarter all the way through of the Eagles game. Excuse me. And, of course, the Bills-Chiefs game coming on tonight. We don't want to interrupt people's time. But this is good to have a nice chat with Falcon fans about the Falcons and, of course, what they can do this upcoming season. I'm all for being a diehard Atlanta Falcon fan. I know there's a bunch of diehard Falcon fans in this chat. Thank you all for pulling up to the podcast today. Terry, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Get up out of here, man. We said a quick 30 minutes. We're almost at an hour. If we get, hold on, here goes Country. He said, hey, Jack, next time make sure my golf clubs are clean before I come out here to play.
Oh, wow. Get him, Country. Get him.
Snap.
Get him.
Yo. Hey, guess what, Terry?
Get him, Country.
I don't see no Eric Parker here today. I don't see no Eric Parker.
You know what he's doing? He's watching the game, probably.
Yeah, he's watching the game.
He's watching the game.
Or he's watching the truck.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you clearly didn't learn your lesson the first time, huh, buddy?
He's not here. He's not here.
All right.
This might.
Hey, I'm just.
Hello.
Hey, you might have
Eric
spies.
Parker.
Hello. Oh my God. You
Mike's working.
Did not learn.
Hello.
You clearly did not learn. He roasted you for
McFly.
like an hour, Jack.
Hello, McFly.
You're like a glutton for punishment, man. Jeez.
Watch
oh my goodness.
Listening. I just ain't comment yet.
Bro, that was one of the best one time for the fans ever. That episode was hilarious.
The roast Jack Spade episode due to his mic problems or StreamYard just StreamYarding us. All right.
Oh my God, bro. Well, clearly you want to relive that because I'm telling you, when Eric hears about what you said, buddy, and he won't hear from me, by the way, but other folks do watch this show. So I'm just saying, hey man, you clearly like it.
Hey, Ryan be mentioning it a lot, man. He talks Falcons football with some of the real good Falcon fans, man. Terry, you've had him on your channel before.
Oh yeah, Ryan is my guy, man.
Ryan. Yeah, man. Ryan can talk some Falcons football, man. So big shout out to Ryan, the historian, ATL Birdcage. They're doing a great job over there. LLC Birdcage. They're doing a great job over there. In their content creator space. Big shout out to Ryan, the historian. Big shout out to all the content creators too as well. Here go goddamn DSGB Hall. I'm texting her right now too. I'm telling him.
I told you.
Screenshot. There was screen.
I told you. You didn't want to listen. You didn't want to listen.
As soon as Eric Parker comment jumps in there. As soon as I see Eric Parker, I'm gonna end the stream.
Okay. Well, hey, buddy. Yeah, that'd be wise because he's gonna get at you.
Hey, man.
Remember, you did this to yourself, Jack.
I tell me and Eric, man, we go way back, man. Like, Terry, of course, that's your brother, so you know Eric Parker way more, man. But when I met Eric, man, he was one of those diehard Falcon fans. You can talk Falcons any time of the day with Eric. He wants to talk about the team.
Oh
It
yeah.
could be 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, no matter. We're in a group chat with some other Falcon fans where we just talk Falcons. And you can 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, you can post an article, don't matter. Eric, he's there. He will talk Falcons with you. Of course, when it goes to the training camp and the home games, he's one of them fans. He's there, right? He's not missing a beat when it comes to this team. So big shout out to
He
Eric
doesn't miss
Parker.
it.
Big shout out to everybody in the chat. T Will, oh man, your shout outs for my ATL Sports, brother. Let's wrap it up. Let's get up out of here, man.
All right. Hey, shout out to everybody in the chat who joined us. You could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to spend this time with us, and we are appreciative of it. We do this for you because we couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much for. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Come on, man, wrap this up.
Here we go.
Hurry, wrap it up.
Yeah, Eric, that's right. He was talking shit about you, Eric. That's right. He was. He did it. He did it, bro. Yes, he did. He was talking shit about you, Eric. He said, yeah, he did it. Anyway, hey, shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate that. You can find me at the number 4, my ATL Sports, the number 1 on YouTube. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. That's right, Big Low. Get him, Eric. Want to thank God. Would not be here without him. So appreciative. He woke me up this morning. Everything he continues to do. Praise you, Jesus. And last but not least, I want to thank my brother, Eric Parker, who Jack was just talking shit about, and my friend Jack Spade, who both gave me my start in this business. And big shout out to Big Low and Chris A1 and Berto. And hey, man, just everybody out there. You guys have a great day. Jack, I'm going to defer to you while Eric prepares to lambaste you.
This joker screenshotted it and sent it right to Eric.
He said we should have did it when he had that loud ass mic.
Quick, what'd he say?
He said, what? I knew he was coming. I knew he was coming. I knew he was coming. I knew it. I
gotta watch out, man. I don't know if it's DSU Hall or Terry's underneath the table texting. Like,
I didn't do nothing. You saw me, bro. You saw me.
I saw you. I didn't see your hands, bro.
I ain't do nothing.
You could have muted the mic and said
nothing.
I can see you do like this out the camera, though. I don't know what's going on.
I do. Nope. That was not me, bro. That was not me.
Terry pulling one of these. This is what you doing. Like, Terry. Look, hold on. This is what Terry doing, right?
Nah, man.
And
I ain't do nothing. I ain't do nothing. That was not me, bro. I would have just turned the camera off, but I didn't do that.
Hey,
so
man.
Yeah, you can't say that was me, bro. That was Ernest, bro. That wasn't me.
Yo, my boy said
Zach tried to be a meme.
Eric, man, big shout out Eric Parker, man. Jamal Hill, man. Everybody in the chat, man, talking Falcons, man. Look, come on back. Hit that notification gang. Tap in, subscribers, tap in, man. Make sure you go to YouTube, follow the page. One time for the fan, man. We're just out here talking Falcons football with the fans. We ain't hurt nobody. We ain't doing nothing.
Ain't hurt nobody.
Big shout out to the players. Big shout out to the player families. Big shout out to the organization, coaching staff, former ATL Sports, Carrie, Bodie 3000. Y'all are just great. Like, enjoy this NFC, AFC Conference Championship Sunday. We're going to be there, Falcon fans. When we get there, we're going to do this together, right? So I'm going to continue saying this, man. Always respect those Atlanta Falcons, man. Always rise up for your team. And, hey, just thank y'all for just being a part of One Time for the Fan. I don't care when we go live. To see some of these names in here, to see some of these people that I've traveled with to games, talked to before home and away games, even away from the podcast. I've chatted with most of you all. Y'all are great. Continue doing this. That's why we do it. One Time for the Fan is from the fan, for the fan. And Terry, let's just enjoy this Sunday, man. We'll be back. Probably another pop-up show before Wednesday. We're going to have the Wednesday podcast this week. It's kind of busy with work last week and everything. And, it's the off season. So I'm racking up these hours, man, because when that schedule drops May 15th, back to booking and back on the road again, man. Big shout out to everybody who's out here turning up for One Time for the Fan. I've heard a lot of people, comment and tag us, different people's posts and different people's conversations about, listening to our channel. And I thank you all for just being so supportive of One Time for the Fan. And big shout out to Eric Parker once again.
Scary
But
Terry just scored a touchdown, man. It's about to be 14-13 or 14-12.
Take
Terry
Jaden Daniels anytime touchdown.
Hey,
Yes.
man. It was on a slant, too.
Yes. The
It was on a
money.
slant.
The money.
Yeah, man.
Parlay Jack. Hey, y'all. One Time for the Fan. Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, Amazon Podcast. If you're tuning in, if you're listening, head over to Facebook, follow us. Head over to YouTube, follow us. Don't forget, if you're on Instagram, One Time for the Fan on IG. It's been pretty, peaceful over there on One Time for the Fan IG page because ain't that much happening right now. But we're going to crank it back up. So go ahead and follow the One Time for the Fan IG page. Got a lot of stuff to post, actually. So I might as well take the time today to go ahead and post some things. But Falcon fans, be great, stay great, rise up, man. From the fan, for the fan. It's One Time for